obviously seeing them grow. So that's why I got into consulting. Gene, which is weird because that's sales. I know. Yeah, so you're still in sales, it sounds like, dude. Yeah, it's like a different form of it. But yeah, like I used to. Ain't no different form of sales. Yeah. There's only one form of sales. There's only one form of sales, and that's having a conversation, building rapport, listening, active listening, and providing value in order to close a deal on the back end where everybody benefits. That's a sell. Doesn't matter if it's in a relationship. It doesn't matter if you're going to the bar and having a conversation with the girl or the guy sitting next to you. It doesn't matter if you're having a conversation with your wife or your husband or your children. Every conversation ultimately is a
Starting in one moment, folks, on Instagram. We're just waiting for Adam to get done over here on Clubhouse. He held me down for a couple minutes while I was getting ready. We're going to vote on the topic here, then we're going to get started in a minute. Hope everybody's had a great weekend. Coming up in one moment.
I have the opportunity to build this rapport, give you permission to make money on the back end. Everybody bloody wins. I love it. Hold on, Gene.
So let's see.
I appreciate your input. I appreciate your feedback. Yeah, dude. I got to hand it off. To Dre. Dre, I said 5 minutes. We went 10. I'm sorry, man. I hope you're ready to go.
I am ready to go. I appreciate you holding down that time, Adam. How are you doing?
You know, this morning when I woke up, I didn't think I'd have consistency, but I got to say, if I was doing any better, I wouldn't know what to do with myself.
Excellent. Well, there it is. I mean, you're still on it, so you're still on it. So that's right.
Hey, Dre, can I just say what's up to my brother Adam? I just want to say
Anthony Glenn, what's going on? What's up, man, dude? Oh man, I miss your voice, bro. I need to call you.
Yes, let's talk on the call, bro.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Adam. Boy, I much appreciate it, and hope everybody's had a great week. Great start to the month of June. Hope you got some goals written down for this month. Headed into what you're doing moving forward. I caught the tail end of what Adam was saying about making sure you have your plans in place for where you're going and what you are doing. So let me give you all the 2 topics that you're going to vote on here today and decide what we're going to do over this next 50 minutes, because I'm going to fill in for Matt McHale today. He is out. So I'm going to take the next 50 minutes, and we could either, I'm going to give you 2 topics and you could choose. I got so many, it's hard to even choose which 2 I want to give you. So we can either talk about successful people disciplines. So I'm just going to lay out some disciplines here, and you can put the letter D if you want me to talk about that, or I could talk about how or we can talk about the law of attraction, how the law of attraction actually works. So you can put the letter A for the law of attraction. So D for successful people disciplines, A for the law of attraction, how it actually works. I will lay it out and spell it out over the next 50 minutes, whichever one you want, pick. So A is, we'll talk about how the law of attraction actually works, and D is for successful people discipline. So put that in the chat here in Clubhouse at the bottom left corner of your screen. If you are on the Clubhouse app, if you are on TikTok or on Instagram, I'm live on TikTok. My TikTok is just work on your game. They have live streaming now, if y'all didn't know. And Instagram is just my name, at Dre Baldwin. You can vote over there. Brandon Joseph, I see you voting over there. So just put A for law of attraction, D for successful people disciplines. While you all are voting, I'll give you a little bit of time here. Let me introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete, author of 35 books. I've done 4 TEDxTalks. I created this whole brand called Work on Your Game. What we do over here is relatively simple. All right, what we do is we take the tools to help athletes reach the top of the sports game, and we translate those tools over to the business world and the professional world to help professionals like you perform at your highest level, do so consistently. And of course, since we're in business, it's going to lead to you making more money at what you do. And our goal over here is to not make you feel good, but to help you do good. Sometimes the things that help us do good don't feel good, at least on the front end, but they do feel good in the back end when we get the results, because we are in a performance and results-based business. So let's see what we got over here. Looking in the comments on Clubhouse to see where we're at. So we got A, D, D. Looks like disciplines have won pretty solidly here. So those of you who voted the A, Shelly, I see you. Sonia, I see who else voted for A. Judith, I see you did as well. We may get to that next time. I still have the topic in the chamber, but we'll do successful people disciplines here today because that is what the audience has asked for. So let's get into it. So I did a series. I think I did it here on Clubhouse, probably, who knows, maybe earlier this year, maybe around February or March, where I talked about the 12 work on your game commandments, because we basically have a set of principles that our ideal people, the people who we most want to work with and the people who most connect with what we're about and what we do, the things that they agree with, the things that they exercise, the things that they practice. And when I talked about that, a lot of people were just asking me about just general disciplines that people could use, whether you're using them professionally, whether you're using them personally, whether you use them in your business, or use them for finance, for your fitness, for your relationships, anything. That's what I'm going to lay out here today. I believe we have, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of these. So I'll make sure I stay on track here. We'll go through all of these. And then hopefully we have some time at the end of this. Actually, I'm not even going to say hopefully. I will make sure that we have time at the end of this for some open discussion. So I'm hoping that you all have some. If you have a comment or question, anything that comes up in the midst of me going through these points, just put it in the comments section. So when I'm done, even if nobody comes off the mic to speak, I can just go through the comments and respond. So you might hear something while I'm talking that you want to respond to, like point number 4 or number 5, but you might have forgotten it by the time I get through all 9. So let's get to it. Number 1, we're talking here today about successful people disciplines. And these are not in any particular order. Number 1 is successful people plan ahead via goal setting. People who are successful plan ahead via goal setting. Let me explain to you exactly of setting goals. Hopefully many of you are goal setters yourselves. Actually, let me ask you a question. Put the number 1 in the chat if you write down goals. You physically write down your goals. It doesn't have to be pen and pad. I don't write on a pen and pad. I don't know if I even know how to anymore, but you at least write digitally. You write down your goals so that you can look at them and you can see them. If you write down your goals every month, if you write down your goals every year, if you are a goal writer downer, if that's even a phrase, I just made it up, put the number 1 in the chat. Those of you who actually write down goals. Okay, so I see a bunch of you do that. Boozy, Monroe, Christina, Maria, Trish, Judith, Shelly, Mary Kim, Ray, Ramyar. A lot of you write down goals. Okay. What is a goal? A goal is a plan for your future success. That's what a goal is you telling yourself consciously and subconsciously, this is something that I expect to do in the future. So a goal is a plan of future success. And therefore, by contrast, if you don't make goals or plans for your future success, what word do I want to use here? Let's just say the default, for lack of a better term, is you're probably not going to reach it. And what I tell people, especially in our world, is that if you don't have a goal, well, it's impossible to score. Everybody understands how sports works, right? You can't play basketball without a hoop because you can't put the ball in the basket. That means you can't score any points. Like you can't play soccer without the net. You can't be a target shooter without a target. You need something to shoot at. Therefore, if there is no goal, it is impossible to win. And if you don't win, you lose. And in the world that I come from, the sports world, it is a binary. You either win or you lose. This is not an infinite game. It is a finite game. You win or you lose. And if there is no setup, there is no mechanism designed for you to win, i.e. goals. Therefore, it is impossible to win. Therefore, you must lose because there is no other option. So asking yourself, what are your goals this week, this month, this quarter, this year, this next 5 years? All successful people have goals. And again, you don't have to tell everybody your goals, but you need to have them. They plan ahead for what they wish to achieve. They write it down. They have it documented in some way, shape, or form. And then they go to work on the plan that they have written down. People who are not successful may think about the things they want, but they don't write them down. They don't have clear plans, and they do everything by the seat of their pants, winging it and hoping that they can figure it out. Now, the good news is if you're talented enough, you may be able to figure some things out without writing your goals and actually create some success temporarily. But in the long run, it's not going to work that way. Successful people always have their goals written down and planned out. They know exactly what they're going to do. And those written down goals, you know what it creates? It creates this word that I find in my work, because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people who are either starting their businesses or almost everybody I work with is the main person in their business, whether they have a small business, maybe 10 employees, maybe it's just them, maybe they have some virtual people who work for them. Biggest challenge that a lot of them have is a lack of clarity. A lack of clarity. It's not that they don't know where they want to go. Like, yeah, I want to make money. I want to sell my product. I want to get people into my program. I want to sell my course, et cetera, et cetera. Most people understand that far, but what exactly do I do next? How do I do it? Why do I do it? Where do I do it? When do I do it? Which pieces should I keep? Which pieces should I not keep? A lot of people just lack clarity. And when I have conversations with entrepreneurs, this is even before they have even come into my program, this initial conversation, what they gain is a ton of clarity on exactly what they want. And they don't gain clarity because, and borrowing a little bit from what I heard Adam saying, same framework, they don't gain clarity because I'm figuring out what their situation is. All I'm doing is just asking them a bunch of questions that they've never asked themselves. And when they answer the question, they're like, okay, I never thought about it that way, but all the material is coming from them. Only thing's coming from me is a question. They answer the questions, and then they're like, okay, now I understand. Now I understand what I need to do. Now I understand why what I'm doing right now is not working. Now this all makes sense. See, goals, what they do, when you actually sit down and really think about what you want and how you want it and when, where, why you want it, it gives you clarity. And when we have clarity, it is much easier to take action. And the goals help us. There's a lot of other things that can create this clarity, but we need this clarity. When we have it, it's much easier to take action. A lot of times when people feel stuck and they feel frustrated and they're stuck in procrastination, or what we call analysis paralysis, is because we don't know what to do next. So when you write down a goal, you're engaging the most powerful tool known to man, known as the human brain, to help you in mapping out, again, the who, what, when, where, why, and how. So a goal for a human being like you and me is like a script for an actor or an actress. Or any of you got any experience in the acting world, you know what a script is. The script is a plan for what you're going to say when the cameras turn on or when the curtains open up, right? You know what you're going to do before it happens. That's the same thing that a goal is. Now, if you show up and you don't know what you're going to do before it happens, again, in the acting world, I think they call that improv. Again, you can get really good at improv, but you don't want to do improv for your entire life, right? You don't want 80 years of your life to be improv. Right? It'd be better if you could plan it out before it happens so that you can put your brain to work and you can actually plan out the success before it occurs. Point number 2, we're talking here today about successful people disciplines. Successful people, number 2, do the hard things first. Do the hard things first, not last. So when it comes to our days, and this is especially important for those of you who get to make your own schedule, whether you're doing it as an entrepreneur, whether you're doing it working at a company, you pretty much get to decide what you're going to do and when and how. You just need to make sure that certain things get done. What most of us do, and this is the bad habit that we have to catch ourselves in, is we look at our things that we need to do. Let's say you got a list of 10 things that need to be done, and we know one of them is the hardest. We know one of them is going to be the most painful, is going to be the most tedious, is going to take the most effort, the most brain power, and we put it off. We put that one off till later. Let me do all the little stuff that makes me feel good, the things that give us the dopamine hit. Okay, let me cut down on my inbox. Let me respond to these DMs. Let me what's another nonsense tactic that we do? All of you know the things that you do. Put it in the chat, things that you do every day that isn't really moving the needle for you, but it does need to be done. So it's a box checker. So we do all these box checking things first, and then whatever time is remaining, we get to the most important things, the things that actually will make a difference in our business, things that actually make a difference in our careers, what we call over here the big domino. Big domino is a concept that I learned in marketing. The big domino, what it means in simple terms is that what is the one thing that if you were to get that thing done or check that box, it would render all the other boxes that you want to be checking not even relevant or even important. This works on the sales side. This also works on the personal side. So on the sales side, for example, let's say any of you out here who have a product or service that you're selling. It could be a physical product, digital product, something intangible. The big domino is the one consideration that your prospect needs to have addressed. That if you address that one consideration, the other 38 features of your product are irrelevant because they're going to buy just as long as you handle that one consideration. So if you're selling some type of digital doodad, you're selling a laptop, the most important thing that the person needs is, can this laptop handle the process? Can it do the processing for me to have 35 tabs all open at the same time without the computer slowing down or crashing on me? As long as it can do that, then I'm going to buy the computer. They don't need to know about anything else. They don't need to know about the camera or how it's Wi-Fi enabled or how light it is or how good the sound system is on the computer. Those things are features of the product, but they don't really care about that. What they care about is that one thing, and if you knock down that one big domino, you make the sale. Therefore, you can cut down your sales presentation from 45 minutes to 10 minutes if you understood what the big domino was. So it is your job to assess and suss out what is the big domino for this prospect that I'm selling to. And any of you could use that in your sales process, especially those of you who have in-person sales conversations with people before they buy from you. Find out what the big domino is for the person you're selling to. And this also applies to you personally. What is the one thing that I could get done today that if I got this done, it would make my day a success, and it would take all these other little things that even if I don't do them, it wouldn't matter. What is the one thing I could do today? Who are the 10 people who I need to get on the phone with today? What's the one task that I've been putting off for 3 weeks that if I get this one done, it makes the biggest difference in my life? And this is usually the hardest thing to do. It's the hardest thing you need to do is usually the big domino. Not always, but most of the time. So as the saying goes, success is hard on the front end, easy on the back end. And the reason that this is true is because successful people usually take the most challenging things and deal with them first, and then the easier work is done on the back end. And again, if the easier work doesn't even get done today, that's okay, because the easier work and it doesn't make a big difference anyway. Successful people focus on the most important tasks, the high leverage and the high value things, and they do those up front. And again, these are usually the most painful, the most tedious, the ones that take the most resources and the most energy. But that's what we had to do first. This is a discipline in and of itself. Everybody understanding what I'm saying here? So if you look at your current to-do list, what's the hardest thing that's on that list? Often the hardest thing on the list is the thing that you most need to address. And if you don't address it and you keep not addressing it, eventually life throws it in your face in a way that you don't have control over the fact that now you need to address it, because it addresses you. And you probably don't want it to happen that way. It'd be better if you addressed it before it addressed you. Then, so knock out the biggest thing, then the next thing, then the next thing, again, as time permits. Sooner you handle the biggest thing, the easier everything else is. And again, might not even matter depending on what you handle. Point number 3, we're talking today about successful people disciplines. Number 3, do the opposite of what quote unquote everyone is doing. Successful people do the opposite of what everyone is doing. There's a guy from, back in the day, he was one of the founding fathers of what we now know as personal development. His name was Earl Nightingale. Many of you may be familiar with Earl. He's most known for his 36-minute audio recording called The Strangest Secret. And he recorded The Strangest Secret. A lot of people don't know this. He recorded The Strangest Secret because Earl he was a salesperson. He had a team of salespeople, and he would record these basically motivational pep speeches for his sales team every single day. Or he wouldn't record them. He would actually give them to his team every single day. But at one point, Earl was about to go traveling, and he was going to be away for a while. And this is before the days of Wi-Fi and the internet. So he was asking himself, okay, if I don't give these guys something motivational every single day, then they're not going to do a pretty good job. They're not going to do a very good job selling. So how could he solve this problem? So what he did was took some of the things that he would have said to his sales team directly, he recorded it, and then he had his team play those tapes every day while he was gone so that they could still get the hype up, the motivation while he was out of town. And what he recorded became what we now know as The Strangest Secret. And you can find The Strangest Secret online. You can find it on YouTube or any of your favorite audio platforms for free. And that Strangest Secret became one of the foundational pieces of personal development. And Earl recorded a whole bunch of other audios as well after that one because he became very famous. It was like the biggest selling audio in history when it first came out, The Strangest Secret. He recorded another one called Lead the Field. And you can find all of these on your favorite audio platforms or YouTube. They're pretty much out of copyright these days, so you can find it for free. And one of the things that Earl Nightingale said in the Lead the Field tape was that if you ever step into a new space and you would like to be wildly successful, but you don't know how, all you have to do is look around at what everyone else is doing in that space and do the opposite of that. Now, that's an interesting concept. Why would doing the opposite of everybody else make you wildly successful? Well, here's the explanation behind the theory. Explanation is that most people, by definition, are average. Most people are average or mediocre or worse. So if you just look around at what most people do, what's going to lead to average and mediocrity, and you do the opposite, then you're probably going to end up successful. That's what most successful people do. If you look around, and I heard it was actually another founding father, personal development guy by the name of Jim Rohn. If you're familiar with Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn was Tony Robbins' mentor. That's who Tony Robbins learned at the feet of when he was first coming up. And Jim he was in several network marketing companies. What he was in Amway, as a matter of fact. He was one of the speakers for Amway, one of the motivators for them. Same thing Earl was doing for his insurance guys, Jim Rohn was doing for Amway. And Jim Rohn once said that, actually I forgot what I was going to say that he said. I'll come back to it in a second. But doing the opposite of what everyone else does is what sets you up for success, because again, everyone else is usually just following what they see everybody else doing. And again, most people end up average, and most people exist in this space for the entirety of their lives. So if you don't want to be like most people, do the opposite of what most people do. And all these principles that I'm sharing, again, most of you may even be aware of these principles, but a lot of us just don't engage and act on them. So if you just look around, see what's happening. Okay, I see everybody is doing it this way. What if I just did it the opposite way? What if I just didn't go that way and I just went this way instead? The challenge with this of doing the opposite of what everybody else does is much more emotional than it is strategic or tactical, because actually it's pretty easy to suss out what everybody is doing and ask yourself, okay, what's the opposite of that? Okay, it's actually pretty easy to figure out. You don't need to be very smart to figure out what's the opposite of what everyone else is doing. The challenge, and the reason why this is a emotional challenge, the reason I'm saying that is because for human beings, being that we are social creatures, we are wired for socialization, we're wired for connection. It's very difficult for us to bring ourselves to, on purpose, separate ourselves from the group. Because if everybody's going left, and I'm telling you the strategy is to go right, because that's the opposite of what everybody else is doing, that's mentally and emotionally challenging for people. It's not intellectually challenging. All right, you understand it, but can you move yourself to do it? Because studies have shown that human beings, when isolated from a group, we feel pain in the same areas of our brain that we would feel pain as if we were physically injured. And it's the reason why most people tend to conform, as Earl Nightingale said in The Strangest Secret. They tend to conform and just do what they see everyone else doing because it makes us feel good emotionally to be connected to other people, even if that connection means we end up in mediocrity by our own doing, by our own choices. So could it really be that simple? The answer is yes. It really is that simple. Now, simple does not necessarily mean easy, because easy means what are we willing and capable of doing? Simple means something that we can understand. So that's why we handle, again, the biggest and most challenging tasks up front. This is another thing that most people don't do. When your energy and willpower is at the highest, usually at the start of something, so you can handle the easier stuff later on and when your energy is not at its peak. And I still can't remember what I was going to say that Jim Rohn said, but I'll come back to it when it comes back to me. Move on to point number 4. We are talking here today about successful people disciplines. Number 4, invest in achieving results faster. Now, question, does everybody here understand that according to our current science, based on what we currently know to be true, everybody here at some point is going to die? All right, is anybody who disagrees with that? All right, put disagree in the chat if you disagree with that, what I just said. That according to current science, nobody just lives forever. Like everybody in here at some point, it'll be over. Okay, we all understand that, right? Okay. Which means every one of us is, at every minute, what I call on the clock. On the clock, meaning there's an hourglass. Everybody knows the hourglass, right? Where there's the sand at the top and then it's slowly going down to the bottom. And when all the sand at the top is gone and is all at the bottom, that means time's up. Okay, all of us are on the clock. The challenge is, for most of us, we have no idea how much time remains. We know how much time has passed. All right, that's called our age. So if you're 30 or 22 or 67, we know how much time has passed. We don't know how much time we have left. All right, everybody doesn't have the same amount. So knowing that we're on the clock, it is imperative that we achieve whatever we want to achieve as quickly as possible, because we don't know how much time we have left. So when we put things off and say, I'll do that later, I'll do that next year, I'll do that when, I'll do that if, I'll do that after, what we are doing is placing a blind bet that we will have time in the future to actually get to that thing. It's a blind bet because we don't know how much time we have. So this is why successful people invest in achieving results faster. How can I get to this result as quickly as possible with respect to the fact that I know I don't have unlimited time? So the way that you achieve these results faster, what I mean by this when I say investing in it, is you invest in getting help, information, access to systems, tools, software, etc., whatever can help you get to where you want to go faster than if you were to do it all by yourself. This is why successful people invest in things like coaching, consulting, going to events, signing up for programs, whatever form of accountability they need, and other things that, again, the average and the mediocre people, they are aware of. They know that these things exist, but they're not interested in them. Or maybe they're interested, but they just can't move themselves to do it. Again, if you follow what I just talked about in the third point, this can inform many of your decisions. Because many people don't want to do things faster, because doing things faster, first of all, fast is a relative term. So what's fast for me may be slow for you. So if I say I want to get this done in a week, you say you want to get it done in a month, my fast will be 3 days, your fast will be 3 weeks, because it's relative to what you're used to. The challenge for us, it goes right back to point number 3, doing a hard thing first, is that for you to do a thing that is going to be harder for you is going to be a little bit uncomfortable, because it's moving you out of what we all know is the comfort zone. Comfort zone are the things that we're used to doing, the way we're used to operating, speed at which we're used to moving. In order to get out of that, we got to get uncomfortable, and we have to be willing to stay uncomfortable. The good thing about stretching our comfort zones is that when you get out of it and you realize that it didn't destroy you, it didn't kill you, then, as the saying goes, it just makes you stronger, makes you better. Now your comfort zone has expanded. So now, if it's taking a week to get something done was your normal comfort, now you got it done in 5 days. Now 5 days is the new standard. And now once you create a new standard, this is the next discipline. And it's actually not in my points here, but I'll add it here as a little bonus. Next discipline is once you show yourself that there is a new level that you can get to via expanding your comfort zone, now that new level becomes a new standard. So you don't allow yourself to go back to it takes me a week. Or you just showed yourself you could get it done in 5 days. Okay, let's get it done in 5 days every time. And maybe now to 5, maybe we can get it down to 3. Maybe we can get that 3 down to 1. Or maybe we can get that 1 down to half a day. So you can continue to expand your comfort zone, and this is how you continue to grow. But you have to be willing to let that comfort zone get expanded. This usually happens. It's not impossible to do it on your own, but it usually happens when we invest in getting results faster, because what happens is other people can push us to levels that it's very difficult for us to push ourselves to. It is known that human beings have a self-sustaining mechanism within us that prevents us from inflicting a certain amount of pain on ourselves. We all have a certain threshold of pain through which we will put ourselves through. There's a certain level that you'll push yourself to that other people, see, they don't feel that pain when they're pushing you. So I was in the gym this morning, and there's a lot of trainers in the gym working with their clients and doing stuff. And there was this guy on the treadmill, and I see him all the time. He's running on the treadmill. His trainer's standing next to the treadmill, and his trainer's controlling the pace of the treadmill. Now, I would believe that this guy, there's a certain pace that he would put the treadmill up, certain speed that he would move himself to on that treadmill, that his trainer would go a little bit further than that. Trainer would go further than he would go. Why? Because the trainer doesn't feel the pain. He doesn't feel the burning lungs. He doesn't feel the lactic acid in the legs. He doesn't feel like I can't go another step the way the guy feels it when he's running on the treadmill. And this is the reason why we invest in getting this accountability. This is the reason why we invest in achieving outcomes that we might not be able to move ourselves to, because again, other people don't feel that pain. And the pain that we're feeling, pain doesn't mean we can't do it. And see, that's what we have to hold ourselves mentally accountable for internally, so that we can accept when someone else is pushing us past what we think are our limits. And any of you who works in the consulting space, and when I say consulting, I mean coaches, trainers, speakers, any of you who works in that space, you know that your job is to move people to do things that they otherwise would not do, or move people to do things faster or more effectively or differently than they would move themselves to do. It's not necessarily you're giving them a whole bunch of new information. Because if all you're selling is information, well, Google and Chat GPT have all of us beat. All right, so none of us is really selling information. What we're selling is helping people get to an outcome in a way that they might not have gotten to it without our help. But they had to meet us halfway. They had to actually be willing to accept what we're going to give them. So whenever I work with someone, I always ask them, all right, are you coachable? Are you willing to get uncomfortable? And are you willing to be pushed out of your comfort zone? Are you willing to have these things happen? Because if you're not, and are you committed to what we're doing here? Because if you're not these 3 things, I can't help you. All right, you can get the information. I can give you all the information in the world. But if you're not willing to do anything different than what you've been doing, the information is useless. And all of us have access to information that we're not using. All right, all of us agree to this. Great. Let's move on to point number 5. We're talking here today about successful people disciplines. Number 5, initiate change before it is forced upon you. So I've kind of touched on this earlier, but what you'll notice as I go through these points is that they're all interconnected. Every point connects to another one. Initiating change before it is forced upon you is a discipline, and it is a choice. Success is a choice, ladies and gentlemen. Success is not something that happens to you. It is not something that you wake up one day and boom, success is at the door. It doesn't happen that way. Success is a decision. It's a decision that you're going to do the things that are going to lead you to the outcomes that you have decided that you want to achieve. And this is the reason why success is not something that someone else cannot look at you and say that you are successful. Only you know if you're successful or not, because you're the one who sets the goals. John Wooden, legendary basketball coach. He coached at UCLA back in the 60s and 70s when UCLA was very dominant. They won, I think, Wooden won 11 championships or it might have been 10 and 11 years, but he won a whole lot of championships. They were dominant. They just beat everybody. And they had the best players. And John Wooden would say to his players a lot of the times before the games, because UCLA was so good, any of you who follows college sports, you understand that because there are so many teams and so many players, often there's a huge talent gap between one team and another. This is why there would be big blowouts between teams in college sports. So Wooden, understanding this, would say to his players, all right, I don't know if he would say all of this part, but he knew that they were so good they were going to win a lot of the games that they played, regardless of whether they tried or not. So Wooden would say to his players, the only way that you know that you're successful today is not by the scoreboard, because we're probably going to win on the scoreboard anyway because it was better than these guys. The way that you know that you're successful is if you know you gave your best effort for however many minutes you played in the game today. That's how you know that you're successful. It's not about the scoreboard, because again, and this applies to all of us too, because many of us, if you're very skilled, very talented, very experienced, and you have a lot of resources, sometimes you are going to win, quote unquote, regardless of how hard you try, regardless of how much effort you put in. You're going to be successful anyway because you already have an advantage. You're already ahead. But successful people hold themselves to a standard. They hold themselves to account to perform. It's not about how you compare to other people, because again, same thing with many of you. If you compare yourself to all the people who are from your neighborhood where you grew up, you compare yourself to your extended family members, you compare yourself to peers in your industry, well, it's very easy to make yourself feel pretty accomplished. You've already won. You're beating everybody. But does that mean that you're a success? No, it doesn't. You may be a success in the eyes of other people, but are you a success when you look in the mirror? And that's only based on you knowing you did what you could do based on your potential and the goals that you set for yourself. It's not about them, it's about you. So furthering on this point, fourth principle of work on your game is personal initiative. Being a go-getter who makes things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. Most people only change in life when change is forced upon us. Circumstance crowd in on us and force us to do something that we had not been doing. Basically, when circumstances break our inertia for us. Successful people, we break the inertia. The law of inertia states that an object in motion shall remain in motion, or an object not in motion shall remain not in motion until or unless acted upon by an outside force. In common terms, these are known as momentum or stagnation. Those are just different sides of the same coin called inertia. Successful people break their own inertia. They don't wait for a circumstance to make you move when you know you've been telling yourself for 3 months, I need to do something, but not doing it. Successful people move themselves to do it anyway. Whereas unsuccessful people wait till a circumstance forces you to move. And again, the biggest challenge with this, the existential problem with waiting for circumstance to force things upon us, is that our time is limited. So if you keep waiting, eventually you're going to run out of time. All right, circumstance can't do anything when your time is up. So this is why forcing yourself to make changes, knowing what the change is, but forcing yourself to make the change is a discipline that successful people have. And again, making that change, ladies and gentlemen, does not necessarily mean you have to do it all yourself. Doesn't mean you have to have all the knowledge. Doesn't mean you have to have all the tools. This is the reason why there are 8 billion people on the planet. All right, why do you have to figure everything out yourself? Well, that's a trick question. You don't. You can tap into others who have access to the things, or they have the knowledge or the insights that you don't have. That's the reason why one of my other points here was investing in the speed of your success. Investing means getting access to something that is probably outside of yourself. Point number 6. We're talking here today about successful people disciplines. Number 6 is operate by systems and not by randomness. What is a system? A lot of people use this word. System is defined as, quote, a set of things working together as parts of a mechanism or an interconnecting network, close quote. That's what a system is. Things working together as part of an interconnecting network or a mechanism. So what do I mean by this if I put this into plain language? Successful people have processes for achieving their outcomes and over and over again. Successful people have processes for achieving outcomes that allow them to achieve said outcomes consistently over and over and over again. And understand that you can have systems in every aspect of your life. You have systems for your money. You have systems for how you operate your business. You have systems for your fitness. You have systems for your nutrition, systems for your sleeping patterns. You have systems for every single thing that you do. And successful people tend to systematize a lot of what they do. And sometimes people hear that, or they see it in somebody and they say, yeah, I get it, I understand, but all those systems and everything being process driven, it becomes kind of boring. It becomes kind of monotonous, and it's the same stuff over and over and over again. And it's like fingernails on a chalkboard to some people. We'll address that in one moment. But successful people having this process, this matters a ton. If you look at the most successful entities that we know of, think of a company like Starbucks. So we got any Starbucks drinkers in here? I'm sure a couple of you. All right, McDonald's. Hopefully not too many McDonald's eaters, but everybody knows what it is, right? Why are companies like McDonald's and Starbucks successful? Now, I'm not a coffee drinker, so I can't attest to the quality of Starbucks coffee. But one thing I do know is that if I go to Starbucks here in Miami, and one of you goes to Starbucks where you are in Atlanta or Seattle or Los Angeles, and we order the same drink, it's pretty much going to come out looking and tasting exactly the same. Why is this? It's because Starbucks has a locked in, etched in stone system such that it doesn't even matter who's working there, that the outcome is going to be the same every single time. Same thing with McDonald's. If I go to a McDonald's on the east side of town and order a Big Mac, and I go to McDonald's on the west side of town and order another Big Mac, they're going to come out exactly the same. You wouldn't be able to tell me which one came from which McDonald's location, not because the people who work at the McDonald's are geniuses. It's because the system is so tight that all they have to do is follow what the system says. The star of McDonald's is the system. It's not the people. It's not the people who work there. It's the system. Same thing with Starbucks. And it can be the same thing with you. Even though you may be very smart, very talented, very intelligent, very hardworking, very everything else, if you put a system in place, the system can and should be working harder than you are. This is what happens when you put the right systems in place in different aspects of your life. When you get the right system in place, the system does more work than you, and the system takes over such that all you had to do is what the system tells you to do. You basically become an employee of your own system, and you're producing results without having to try as hard because you don't have to pull a rabbit out of your hat every single day in order to get things working. And sometimes in life, in different aspects, especially in business, I know this is true, we have to keep working and iterating to find the system that works. And then sometimes we have a system that's working. It was working 6 months ago, but things have shifted. Now we have to fix the system again, and we have to keep doing it. That's the work that we do, is keep working on the system to get the system working the way that we want it to, or adjust to the adjustments that have happened around us, because we don't control 99% of life is out of our control. We only control 1%. So the 1% that we do control is adjusting our system if the system stops producing the results that we want it to produce. But one of our principles over here in the Work on Your Game world is what we call the same things the same way every time. That is a reflection of what a system does. Same thing, same way every time. The challenge with this is we don't control the outside world. We don't control other people. You don't control your clients. You don't control your customers. You don't control the industry. You don't control the government. We don't control inflation. We don't control any of these things. So in order to keep things coming out the same way every time, we have to keep making adjustments to everything that's adjusting around us. That's the work. So it's not like you just set it and forget it and you never had to do anything else again. We have to adjust to the 99% that we don't have control over. So this is the concept that I want you to understand when it comes to systems. The good news for, again, any of you who doesn't operate by systems, that if you're good enough, talented enough, and the timing is right, you can still create success without a system. When I first started my business, when I officially became an entrepreneur, I was creating training programs for basketball players. This is back in 2009, going into 2010. I had an audience of basketball players who watched me on YouTube, just teaching them how to dribble and shoot and pass and all that stuff. And I started creating programs for them because they were asking for it. And my programs were $5 a piece. $4.99 was my actual price point. My first two products was one for dribbling and one for shooting. And I had no system. There was no system for how I was doing it. Actually, there kind of was a system, but it wasn't a system. Like, I wasn't conscious about the fact that there was a system. The system was I would make videos, put them on YouTube. Basketball players would watch it, and I would tell them, hey, if you want more like this, just go to this website and buy my program. That was my quote unquote system. Technically, that is a system, but I wasn't doing it on purpose. I wasn't conscious or intentional about it. And I created a significant amount of success at that time, even without a system. I'm sharing that story just to tell you that. I didn't have a system, at least not on purpose. I still created success because the timing was right, the product was right, the audience was right. I had the skill, I had the ability, everything had conflated to work all at the same time, confluence of things at the same time to make it work. However, it didn't keep working that way. Eventually, I had to get smarter because things around me changed. YouTube changed its algorithm. My audience changed. Eventually, I stopped playing basketball. So those things couldn't keep working the same way forever. So I had to adjust and finally come up with a serious on purpose system. It's the same thing that all of us want to do in our lives. Again, you may have some success now randomly, But of course, we want to systematize everything so that we know what's going to happen and we can predict it. Because human beings, again, we are creatures of habit. We like to know what's going to happen. We like to depend on things that we can predict, and we know exactly what they're going to do rather than guessing. All right, let me speed up a little bit here. We got about 12 minutes left. Number 7, we're talking successful people disciplines. Number 7, level up in relationships. Successful people are always looking to level up in relationships. I was talking to an entrepreneur a couple weeks ago, and this guy, his business is what his business is doing is significantly ahead of what my business is doing. And he was talking to me just to give me some advice on how I can move myself forward. And one of the things he said, Dre, like 4 or 5 years ago, my business was exactly where your business is right now. And he gave me a bunch of things that I needed to do moving forward. And I took notes on everything he said. And in working on implements, he gave me about 14 key notes of what he said. And one of the things that he said was, Dre, you need to level up in your relationships. You need to create connections and relationships with people who are doing 3, 4, 5, 10 times what you're doing in business, and you need to connect with those people. And that's one of the key ways that you're going to move yourself forward, because it's the mindset around being around those people. Your mindset is going to shift. The actions that you're taking are going to shift. And some of the things that you're doing now that you need to stop doing, you will drop them by hanging around people who are playing at a high level. He was 100% correct. So this key of leveling up, this means you're not just dealing with your peers, people who are eye level with you, but people who you have to look up to see them because they're playing the game at a higher level than you. So this means identifying and associating with people who are playing that game in whatever area of your life. This could be in business, as I just explained. This could be in relationships. They have better relationships than you. Maybe that's at home relationship, friendships, whatever. It could be in your fitness or health. And I remember when I was playing basketball, for example, any of you who plays a sport, you all know that the best way to get better in the sport is to go play with people who are better than you and get your ass kicked all up and down the court or the field or the pool or the track. And you have no choice but to either sink or swim. You have to get better and you got to pick up the pace of your game to keep up with those people. So you stop getting beat up all over the court, the field, the ring, etc. Or you're just going to get stomped on and kicked out of the room because you can't keep up. All right, those are only 2 choices you have. And it's the same thing in business. As the saying goes, some people say, I want to be the dumbest person in the room. I want to be the brokest person in the room. I want to be the least known person in the room. Why do people say that? Because when you're around those people, the law of association is going to force you to either level up or get out. You have no other option. The law of association says you become the average of the people you spend the most time with. So if you get around people who are 10 times better than you, you are going to get better by default. The challenge is, and this is what a lot of people don't think about, is that you being in a room with people who are 10 times better than you, you're bringing their average down. Why would they want you in the room? They're 10 times better than you. So you are bringing their average down by being in the room, which means you are on the clock to step your game up before they look at you and say, wait a minute, you're hurting our average here, buddy, you got to go. So now there's urgency forced upon you to step your game up. Now, everybody follow what I'm saying here? So the question is, when it comes to leveling up, because some people hear this and they say, Dre, you know what? That makes sense. I do want to level up in my relationship. The challenge with leveling up is that you have to have something to offer to a person who doesn't really need anything that you have, at least not on the surface. So what can you offer in that relationship? Any of you who's ever had a mentor before, and I have, I talk about this in one of my books. Best thing you can offer a mentor is to implement what they tell you. That's valuable to them. Because when any of you who's ever mentored a person, you know this. If you offer them some advice, but then they follow it, and then they get results from that advice, well, that makes you a testimonial or case study that makes you look good because you gave them some advice, it worked, and they became more successful. How many of you, though, put the number 2 in the chat, any of you who has ever had a person come to you, ask you for some advice, you told them exactly what to do, and they did absolutely nothing with it? How many of you ever had that happen? Put the number 2 in the chat. Somebody came to you for some advice. This is a person who was looking up to you. So you were the higher level person. They came to you and said, hey, I see that you're doing your thing in ABC. Can you give me some advice on how I can do my thing in ABC? And you told them what to do, and they did absolutely nothing with the advice that you gave them. Okay, so everybody in the room has had that happen. Okay, Health, G. Marie, Jean, Cindy, Mary, Kim. Curtis said they called them an ask hole. Okay, I never heard of that one. That's a good one. Tracy, Malcolm, Kogo. Okay, so we've all had that happen before. So one of the things that you can offer a person who's playing at a higher level than you is that you will actually implement what they tell you to do. Brandon Joseph, I see you. J Step over there. I see those of y'all on Instagram as well. And not Not the bag on TikTok. I see you too. Follow what a mentor tells you to do, or a coach. If you hire a coach, actually do what they tell you to do. Assuming that you are a good judge of skill and ability, you hired the coach for a reason, right? Which means they know what they're doing and what they're telling you is actually going to work. Because again, that's why you chose them. Do what they tell you to do. Be coachable. All right. John Wooden, when he was asked, what's the key to UCLA being such a dominant basketball team? John Wooden said, simple, had the best players. The best coaches had the best players, folks. The best coaches had the best players. Everybody knows who Phil Jackson is. Phil Jackson is a basketball coach, retired now, but he won 11 championships in the NBA. He wrote several books. One of his books is called 11 Rings. You know why Phil Jackson was so good as a coach? Because he coached Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal and Michael Jordan. All right, not because Phil Jackson was some genius. Now, Phil Jackson's pretty good. He ain't that good. Phil Jackson ain't that good. All right, notice that when he took his first coaching job, he took the job of the team that had Michael Jordan on it. All right, Phil Jackson ain't no dummy. And then when he retired after Michael Jordan left, all right, notice he left the same time Michael Jordan left. Then when he came back, what team did he pick? All right, he didn't just pick any random team. All right, he picked the team that had Kobe and Shaq. All right, Phil Jackson's a smart guy. The best coaches have the best players. Those of you who are coaches out there, who makes you look the best? Your clients who are successful people who are going to be successful with or without you, but they chose you to help facilitate their success. Notice that every person, you look at any person who is successful, and you could even use yourself as an example here, any of you who it fits, that all the people who you've chosen to work with look good because you're one of the people that they worked with. They're not successful. You're not successful because of what they did to you. They're successful because you're the one who chose to have them help you. And there's a big difference between the two. Any of you who's I'll give you a piece of advice here. Any of you who's in the coaching business or the consulting business, and you can take this for what it's worth or you can learn it the hard way. Do not sign a client who is expecting you to make them successful. It will always cost you in the long run. Trust me. All right, I have the battle scars to tell you this is not worth it. Don't sign a client who is expecting you to make them successful. Sign a client who's magic ready to happen. They are going to be successful and they're asking you to help facilitate that success. But if they're expecting you to do it for them, that's the wrong person. Let them walk away. I don't care how much money they're offering you. Moving on to point number 8. Let me knock these last two out. We'll open the floor for some discussion. Number 8, successful people position themselves to add value. This is called placement strategy. What does placement strategy mean? It means that the place that I can best add value may not be the same place that TM can best add value. And the place where Adam adds a ton of value might not be the room that I need to be in. And the places where Tony adds value might not be the place that I should show up at. You need to know yourself, know what you're bringing to the table, know what your game is, and you need to position yourself in the place where you can best add value, which is not the same as where everybody else adds value. Successful people position themselves to be successful because they go to places where they know they're going to look good. As the saying goes, go where you're adored, not where you're ignored. And it ain't the same for everybody. If I go into a basketball court, I can add value because I have a ton of experience. I put in a ton of work and I know my stuff. If I go on a tennis court, not so much. You got to know your place. All right, where do you belong where you can actually give the most value? Do you know? All right, so this goes back to strategy, folks. Strategy is a plan of action. Where do you need to show up and how can you show up and for whom can you show up to where you be giving a high level of value, and where else would you show up to where maybe not so much? You're just not that valuable. You're just not that wanted. You're just not that desired. And understand, folks, you should not waste any of your time, your valuable, precious time, most valuable resource you have, trying to convince people that you are valuable. If they're not interested, move on to somewhere else. There are 8 billion people on the planet, folks. There are 8 billion people on the planet. If you're in a room in which you are being ignored, there is another room in which you would be adored. The problem is you can't be adored because you're still trying to bang on the door where they don't want to let you in. Go into the room where they want you there. Your value will be a lot higher. It'll be a lot easier for you. They will actually listen to and implement what you have to say instead of you trying to force feed the situation in a place where they don't even want you. Successful people understand this and they do it strategically. They strategically look for places where they are of highest value. And again, it ain't everywhere for everybody. You just got to know your places. And there's no person who's always valuable in every room they go into. You just got to know the places for you and also know the places to avoid. All right. Both of them matter equally. Number 9. Successful people discipline is what we're talking about here. Number 9, successful people religiously avoid nonsense. How do we define nonsense? Well, this is why we started out with goals. So knowing what your goals are clearly defined. They're clearly written down and documented. Nonsense is anything that is not listed in those goals. Everybody got it? Nonsense is anything that is not listed in your goals. If it's not listed in your goals and it doesn't contribute to the goal, then it is officially nonsense. This is a binary. All right, there is no gray area here. Over here in the work on your game world, in case you haven't noticed, we don't play a lot in the gray. We like to make things really clear. We like to work with binaries. It's either this or it's that. So anything that's not related to your goal is not going to help you get there. That is known as nonsense. So you have to clearly define what nonsense is so you don't waste your time on things that are not getting you where you want to go. Let me recap these points quickly, and I said I will leave sometime. I didn't lie. We got 2 minutes here. So let me recap these points here. Successful people disciplines. Number 1, plan ahead via goal setting. Number 2, do the hard things first. Number 3, do the opposite of what everyone else is doing. Number 4, invest in achieving results faster. Number 5, initiate change before it's forced upon you. Number 6, operate by systems and not randomness. Number 7, level up in relationships. Number 8, position yourself to add value. Number 9, religiously avoid nonsense. All right, the mic's open. Anybody have anything to add, ask, or share? We got a minute and a half.
I'm going to comment.
Morning.
This has been really great, Dre.
Thank you.
The magic for me, when you start talking relationships and processes, like, that's awesome. But the magic happens when you take action. Like, that's
right.
Yeah, relationships and processes. Yeah, maybe you'll get some PR in there, right? A splash for a whole 5 minutes. But if you don't take action, right? Like, I feel like that's where the magic happens. And I love how you said about, people who coach should be looking for rock stars that are looking to shine.
That's right.
Because they already have the engines revved, right? They're looking to do it. And let me tell you, there's a lot of people who get a coach or a mentor, or, they start getting advice from people. And when things go wrong because they don't take action, they come back and blame that person. So it's been really interesting to see how that evolves, right? And part of it is also ownership, right? So I think action is a piece, and then taking ownership and driving what your goals are where the magic happens. So back to you.
100%, daughter Maria. Appreciate it. And what you touched on there is a big thing. Picking the right players. Again, best coaches have the best players. Just remember that phrase. Who was that? Unmiked.
That was me, Dre. It's Donnie.
Hey, good morning.
And then pass to me to close it out. Thank you.
Okay. Donnie and
I
Marilyn.
just encourage everybody to follow Dre on Twitter, on all his platforms. I follow him every day. He speaks the truth all the time. It's always great content. I just so appreciate you, Dre.
I don't know if everybody wants to follow me on Twitter. All right. That's a landmine over there, but do so at your own risk.
Okay, Dre, you're awesome, bro.
Appreciate you. Go ahead, Marilyn.
Oh, go ahead and close out. I just want you to pass to me so I can do the reset when you're done.
Okay, perfect. Oh, I forgot that reset. I'm sorry, Marilyn. I'll get it next time. I missed it 2 weeks in a row. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody for your time and attention here. And I will pass it over to Marilyn. She'll reset the room. We'll keep it moving. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome, Dre. Thank you for covering. Thank you for offering amazing content. Appreciate you, and hope you have a wonderful day. And back over, I was going to say, let's see, we're going back over to Dora Maria next, but first.
Okay, so IG, somebody asked, are these live registered on your YouTube? I'm gonna upload this to YouTube. So Ray, the Air, I'm put this on YouTube, so you'll be able to watch it. I just download the live and put it on YouTube. When I get more devices, Ray, I'll just do my lives on YouTube too. We're trying to catch up on YouTube. I got a lot of podcast videos, my podcast show that we're trying to catch up on YouTube so that we're like putting it out on YouTube the same day that it comes out, but we're still behind because we got a lot that we got to catch up on. And YouTube then got me like all kinds of shadow banned out there, but I still put videos on YouTube. We about to start putting videos on, what's the other one called? Rumble? Excuse me. We're going to start putting videos on Rumble too. I just got to hire somebody to put all those videos up because I'm not doing it. We got probably 11,000 videos on YouTube. So I want to take everything off YouTube. Maybe not the basketball stuff, but the mindset stuff. Download them off YouTube and then put them on Rumble. But that's going to be a big project. And then we'll go live on apps like Rumble. But I need more devices. So I got a computer here, a phone, a tablet. Clubhouse is on this phone. So when I get a new iPhone, then I'll have 2 phones. Then I might buy another tablet. I don't know. We just need more devices because you can't go live on one device in multiple places. You got to have different devices to go live. So it's a little digital quagmire. This question is, how frequently do I do the IG lives? It changes. I don't always keep the same schedule. So for now, guaranteed every week. Guaranteed every Monday, I'm gonna do the live like this at the same time too, 8 o'clock, because I do it on Clubhouse and this is scheduled. But there have been times that I've done lives like every day, but then I stopped doing them because when you do them every day, it seems like the audience kind of falls off. They get used to seeing you and then they just stop showing up. So I might start adding another time, and I am going to eventually, and I'll probably do it this year. Just some other pieces I got to get in place. I will start doing lives on YouTube. So then when I'm done, it'll just be on YouTube. So I will do some lives on YouTube and maybe Rumble. Actually, I might not do it on YouTube. I might do it on Rumble. YouTube doesn't really like me. YouTube don't like me anymore. They used to like me. They don't like me anymore. I think it's something that I said. I don't think YouTube likes me. So I might just start doing them on Rumble. I'll keep y'all updated. But if I drop off YouTube and put videos on Rumble, I'll put a video on YouTube telling you that I'm going to Rumble. But they're not gonna let y'all see it. They're gonna what do they call that? When they just don't let your video get seen. Yeah, whatever they call that, they're gonna do that. So y'all just stay tuned. I'll let y'all know that is coming. But I'm gonna get on Rumble eventually, and I'll just do lives on there. But our focus right now is the university. So as we get the university popping, then we'll get all these other pieces popping. Because I gotta hire people to do this stuff. Because I'm not doing it. I don't like doing digital back end stuff. I like doing this stuff. So if I can be in front of the camera talking to humans, that's what I enjoy doing. So what you're asking about and what I'm talking about, the YouTube and the Rumble and the moving videos and downloading and uploading, I don't like doing any of that shit. It puts me to sleep. So I got to hire some people to do that. And hire people to do that, we got to generate more business, so I can hire the best people. I don't want to hire anybody. We want the best people. So now y'all know a little bit about our process and what we're doing over here at Work on Your Game Incorporated. So somebody said, how does one achieve success with no support? Over on TikTok, somebody asked, is Mr. Banks. Go find the support. I mean, there's people out there. I mean, you don't actually know me personally, but you can follow material like mine or other people who you find are giving you something that can help you be successful. So the good thing about achieving success in the world that all of us live in now is that you can have somebody as an association without actually knowing them. You don't have to know them personally, and you can consume, like people like myself who know our stuff. We put out a whole bunch of stuff for free. So 98% of the stuff that I put out is free. So you can just consume stuff for free on live streams and videos, and you can get on my email list where I put out written material damn near every day. I got to send an email out, as a matter of fact, this morning. So you can get a lot of stuff. Most of us, people in my lane, so coaches, speakers, authors, I guess you'd call them influencers, but I'm talking about like people who talk about mindset and growth and getting better. Most of the stuff we put out is free. We sell stuff, of course, but most of the stuff we put out, you can get for free. Want to invest in themselves and want to play at a higher level, those are the people who come into the stuff that we do for paid. But a lot of stuff we put out for free. So you see, I just did a whole hour for free. I talk about this stuff all the time. And I got a show, by the way, Mr. Banks. I got a show called Work on Your Game. It's on the podcasting app. It comes out every single day. It's called Work on Your Game. So y'all can find it. Let me show y'all what it looks like. So it's called Work on Your Game. And I got to get off here in a second because my TikTok just sent me a notification that says my live is going to end in 5 minutes because they noted inactivity. What the hell are they talking about? All right, TikTok just trying to end my live talking about we noted inactivity on your live. This makes no sense. I'm sitting here talking to y'all. But anyway, my show, let me find my show. It's called Work on Your Game. It looks like this. All right, everybody see that? Work on Your Game. This is my show on the podcasting app. Comes every day. Comes out every day. This is the Apple Podcast app. For those of y'all who use Spotify, it's the same thing. Just look it up, but I'll show it to you. So my show on Spotify looks like this. I'm just trying to get the artwork to show bigger so y'all can see it. What's this? I don't use Spotify that often, so I don't know. All right, so this is Work on Your Game. Comes out every single day. So we have the latest episode is episode number 2,942. All right, so when I say every day, I mean every day. This show's been coming out every day since 2016. So we going on, this will be counting 2016, this is actually the 9th year. I don't know how long we keep this going. Maybe I'll go to 5,000, maybe 10,000. It's a lot of recording. We only had 3,000 yet here. So this comes out every day. So any of you want to follow my material, at least get that. But I'm on all the social apps. So whatever app you like, I'm on it. We publish, y'all know, if you follow me on Instagram, you see all the posts we put out. If you follow me on TikTok, you see all the stuff we put out. So that's what it is, folks. All right, we've been on here for an hour. My son is out there acting up. Wife needs help. I need to get off here. Y'all have a great Monday. Work on your game. Y'all know how to reach me. We out of here.